Welcome once again to The Sage. As we continue our episode on mitigating and reducing and indeed controlling the potential hazards to your birds, to your chickens, when you embark on poultry farming. Last episode, we discussed many important issues, the type of birds, making sure you, first of all, understand what you want from your birds, making sure you select the right broods, identifying the right type that you want from your vendor, bringing them home and making sure they're properly acclimatized because they are changing environments. We talked about safeguarding them, how to keep them safe, making sure about the right temperature that they have, but also protecting them from predators. So it was in depth, very interesting. If you missed it, please go to our YouTube to watch. The episodes are always there. This week, we treat the final elements of risk mitigation in breeding chickens or birds. We will go again. Our guest, our expert, is on set. Thank you so much for continuing to be with us. As we finish discussing, I think this time let's talk about nutrition. You've bought the right type of birds, you've selected them, you've brought them, you've made sure they're well protected, but you need to feed them, right? Please tell us about, yeah.
So the another important aspect after sourcing the right bits that you wanted to go for, and then after sourcing for the kind of the housing system that is very conducive for the birds. So one of the most important things also that you have to take note is their nutrition, their feeding. Their feeding. You have to be accustomed yourself to the feeding. The birds you are getting, you are sourcing for, the breeded birds you are sourcing for. So they are still undergoing starter phases. We have in nutrition we have different phases. Let me talk about broilers. Then firstly, we have starter phases, then you have the grower phases, then you have the finisher phases. The grower phases, then you have the finisher phases. Definitely, according to the books, 3 phases. So the 3 phases can be cut down to 2 phases, which is the starter level and the finisher level. So at the starter level now that you gotten your brooded birds, is still the starter level too. So they are still to be placed on starter feed. So you can go and source for the super starter feed, and which they have to be eating till they reach 4 weeks. So that are the things that you have to take notes as individual that want to go into family and then how to bring meat on your table. So you have to get used to it and then familiarize yourself with it. The phases of starter start from the 0 to 4 weeks, and it has to be given super starter. Just go to the vendors that you source your bird from, and then that you are sure that they're giving you the right breeded birds, and then you still place them on starter. And also, since you've already sourced from the vendors and you've already asked the questions that was being explained in the first episode about are they being vaccinated, which medications are they placed on, are they being treated of coccidiosis disease, because at the age of the second week, the week 2 you are getting it, that's when the symptoms of coccidiosis sometimes surfaces when it comes to broilers, because that's when, like I said, in the features, morphological features I explained in the first episode, I said that the birds were very agile, they are strong and edible, and that's when they start around walking around pecking each other feces. That's something about birds. They have feed to eat, but they will decide to be pecking the floor, so that the characteristics of any birds that you see just be pecking. So from once they are pecking and each other's feces, so the kind of disease that we evolve is coccidiosis. So then you ask the vendors, have you been treated against coccidiosis, and then what's the right condition of this pest you are giving to me? So the vendor should be rightly be sincere with you that okay, these birds have been vaccinated and they have been treated of disease of they have been given constitutional disease medications rather against constitutional disease. Then source for the birds. Then the next thing you have to do, okay, buy feed for them, and the feed you are sourcing for them is starter feed. You are still going to place them on commercial feed, not household feed food. No, you still have to place them on commercial feed for them to strive well and to develop well. Like we said, they are broilers, so they are delicate birds that you at least you have to just pamper them a little, but they will not cost you anything. Just like perhaps you source for 10 beds and then you just buy a quarter feed because a bag, a quarter is that's one fourth of a bag. A bag is just 25 kg. So then the one fourth of a bag, if you divide into four, that's quarter. I just buy a quarter beds and then at least between the months they are still eating the feed. So which is still starter. And then once they finish the feed, then you can graduate to finisher. And the finisher is in two forms. You have finisher pellets, that's in form of they are pelletized, they have been pelletized, then you have finisher crumbles. So you can give them anyone. So far that is finisher. And you place them on finisher from 4 weeks upward till you are satisfied enough to slaughter them and put them on your table. So at 6 weeks, you are ready for harvesting to venture on to be to eat. So that's when it comes to their nutrition and their feeding. When it comes to their feeding, so you have to ensure that you get the right feed for them when you source for your food and best. Still place them on super starter or starter feed.
Okay, that's very interesting actually, because it really means that this period of breeding may not be more than 4 to 5 weeks for the family, because when you get your brooders that are already 2 weeks old, and then in 4 weeks time you're ready to harvest.
Just in 1 month's time, you know? So it saves you money.
And if there's one thing that the price has consistently been going up in this country, it is indeed chickens. You know, I mean, somebody told me that one chicken on the average now in the market is over 10,000 naira.
10,000 naira.
And they continue to grow. Eggs are now like 7,000 naira or more a crate. So that is one thing that continues to skyrocket, and therefore makes sense that the family invest in growing a few chickens for their own use. It's bound to be more cheaper than any attempt to buy outside.
And it's even like being said earlier, you are sure what you are venturing on, because at then you can just go to your backyard and at any time, okay, today you are so much excited, kind of want chicken, so that was your family. At least you're also kind of reducing the challenge of insufficient proteins that we are facing now and the food security that we are facing now in Nigeria. But if you can't do that, you've already cut many expenses that you can incur in getting a chicken, like being said earlier on, that a mature chicken at the rate of 10,000 naira above. At this time around, at this era of TPay, it's very high. So it's very advisable that each family puts that into consideration.
So we talked about the nutrition, but there's still more. Can you tell us a bit more about disease prevention?
So you getting the birds, like we said earlier on, that you've acclimatized them, you've selected the right housing for them, then you selected the right feed, the right nutrition for them. So that is that about the nutrition and the feeding. So in the feeding, you have to take note of the feeding schedule too. Like in the morning, what you feed them in the morning, and late in the evening. That's your feeding schedule. At least place them on feeding.
So it has regular, you know. Don't just feed haphazardly.
So then also the kind of water you are giving to your pets, make sure that it's very clean water for them, and then also make sure that you are checking
What
the
does very clean water constitute? Do I have to give them bottled water? What's it? What?
just your well water, your pipe down water, your bowl water is okay, but it's not to be free from dirtiness. Maybe the water is contaminated with forms of dirtiness. Don't give it to your pets. So that's good. That's one that will lead us to the next stage of what you should take note. That's the disease prevention. So while doing that, you are curbing out, you are preventing your pets in contacting different diseases. Like that, you give them a clean water, at least the kind of adverse exposure to disease has been reduced. So they won't have been, they will not be contacted with any forms of disease that is flying there, because they are placed on well feeding nutrition and a well feeding, water, drinking water. So which means that the water you are giving them is okay, clean and free from germs or any form of dirtiness, and then free from any form of all this blue green algae that we always see, all this phylogeny that we always see, some water that has been a long. And also in feeding, also each water should be changed daily, every 24 hours.
The water in their cages.
In their cage should be changed every 24 hours. Because the kind of drinkers you are using, the water is, the outlet of the water is coming out little by little, and some water can stay there for 24 hours. Then once you turn out the water, you can see that the water has already started slipping inside. The container starts slipping.
Already growing fungi.
Fungi. So which means that you have to wash the drinkers, put a fresh water there, and let them have a fresh access to water daily, every 24 hours. That every day that you went there for their feeding schedule, like I said, you change their water. Like I said earlier, so once you are there the following day in the morning, you check your bird, you check their excitement, their behavioral changes, that they are very agile, they are very happy. So give them feed and so give them water daily. Perhaps the water you put today, maybe perhaps during the afternoon it has been finished, place a new one there. They will have access to water. Because when the temperature is high, it's the water they are drinking, they will use to regulate their temperature.
Okay.
Which means
they get thirsty like people, right?
Yeah, they get
so
thirsty.
If the weather is high,
when the weather is high, they
hot,
consume much more water. So that's when it comes to the nutrition. Your feeding schedule must be okay. The kind of water you are giving to the birds must be very, very clean and free from any forms of germs. And their feeders and their drinkers must be cleaned regularly. And which means that also we talk about in the housing system, I talk about the litters management, which we have to, as we are changing their litters, we are putting a new bedding materials and a new waters for the birds. And that's another way of management practice for you to be able to cut out any incidents of any forms of diseases. And then perhaps maybe when I'll take us to the next phase about the disease preventions and biosecurity. So don't just allow random people to have access to your cage. People come from different area, perhaps they might carry forms of germs.
Really?
So they should not have that. It is you or your family or your siblings, your children that is taking care of them. They are already accustomed with them already. So a stranger should not just go to your cage or to the place you are keeping the birds and start managing them.
Okay, so what you're really saying, I will now translate it into medicine, is that they're used to your bacterial flora or your viral flora. What is they're used to it, and the new flora that come in from strangers can become a challenge.
It can become a challenge to them. So which you have to be very, very careful. So it is you that they are already acclimatized with you individually. Apart from they are acclimatizing with the environment, they have already acclimatized with individual in that house that is taking care of them. So they best also recognize people. So once their owner is coming, sometimes they will just be farming that food is coming, food is coming. Let's
I
jump
like
up,
that.
let's jump up.
So you're saying that you said something that I'm going to infer that the emotional relationship is also there.
It's also there.
They get used to their carers and
They
so
get used
on,
to their manager
and
their
they're
carers.
happy and so on. Yeah.
Definitely. So once your birds are not happy early in the morning that you went there, you should have noticed that something definitely is wrong with the birds. So and they can easily depict that due to their behavioral changes too. So once they are excited, so they are free, they are happy. But once a bird isolates itself, definitely something is wrong. And how will you know? You can take notes through their feces. But they cannot talk. You are their hyses, you are all their sense organs. So which means that you too, you feel the way the birds are feeling through their feces. Once you check the feces and then you check that the feces is not compatible, sometimes it's watery. Once it's watery, that's diarrhea. And sometimes their feathers roses, their feathers frizzles and their roses like that. And they started scolding themselves, isolating themselves, and then their head choke inward, which means that the bird is suffering from CLD. That's cardio from respiration acid, that's cold. So which means that you have to get the right medications for the birds. So the way you can tackle this disease and you can try to mitigate, not all, to mitigate and to take proper management of your birds is through their behaviors and how they react, how you see them. So that's when you can, and then you can, once you notice that, and then that's even the vendors itself. When you went to get your birds, they will ask, okay, what do you notice? What is their behavioral changes? Which kind of feces are they depicting? Is it brown? Is it yellow? It is red. Once it's red, you know that this is the kind of medications I'm going to give to you. Once it's red like that, sometimes it's always being caused by coccidiosis too. So and then that's the last stage of coccidiosis, that birds begin to steal blood. That's the reddish things. So which means that it requires, before they start stealing blood, they might have been stealing brownish and whitish diarrhea at that moment. So it is you that you are not for them to have grown to that advanced stage of that critical disease. You have to have mitigated it and kill it instantly and treat that form of things that you identify in your birds in the cage. But birds in cage, sometimes they are mostly free from coccidiosis. It says that if their stool used to fall to the ground, that they are not inside on the face of the cage, because sometimes it happens that once they venture on each other's feces, so that's when the development of coccidiosis starts. So sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's like that. So once you notice that your birds are not excited, they are idle, they are isolating themselves, their heads choked in, they are folding themselves, or they are not excited, they are still whitish, their stool is watery, definitely it's called for medications, and then it's called for you to take
So you
care
go
of them.
to vendors
You go to any veterinary care, and they
then
tell them that, okay, this is what you are facing, the challenges you are facing, and they will give you the proper medications for your bird. And the majority of the time, you don't always have issues with medications if you take your management practice very well. Whereas your nutrition practice,
what you're really saying is that many times these infections will not occur as if you do the right thing.
If you do the right
clean
thing,
and
you
change
and they change their water, and then they have good access to
in most
feed.
cases it doesn't happen.
And then there is no other third party visiting your birds in the cage. They are okay, and then they are being covered when there is cold. You understand? And then there is no kind of heat stress in them. You don't always have any issues with birds. They are considerate with their owners, so that they will not spend much more on them. But if you are not taking the proper management system very well, and you are not cleaning the housing very well, This is when diseases tends to happen, and then your biosecurity measures. That's when you allow the third party, and then you do not wash yourself before you attend to them. You do not clean yourself. Perhaps maybe you have a kind of a wears that you do wear when you want to go and attend to them. Why can't you just acclimatize yourself with that wears rather than taking another wears there, and then the kind of the slippers or the footwears you are used to entering their pen, just put it there. Don't take it outside anywhere else. Seeing as well that you put all these things into practices, so it's not likely for you to just spend much more on the medications for your pets. And those are the things that each family or anyone that wanted to venture into family poultry, just for them and for their own domestically use, you have to just take care, and you enjoy yourself. You enjoy that you are eating edible meat and you are eating a good table heads. And those are the things that each ones have to very, very take note. Take note of the breeds of the birds you are taking, where you are sourcing it from. That's why sometimes we do produce brooded birds. Like majorly last month, October, we did around 2,000 capacity that we sold out. And then they ventured, they bought it, and then they are all happy. They are all testifying that they needed more, but it's season. Now, Easter is coming next year. Salah is coming also. Why can't you just also use these chances also to buy brooded birds, and then you enjoy yourself with all this
time for the festivity.
For the festivity, and then you not be pressured with what the environment is putting pressure on people on how to put meat on their table. And those are the things that each family have to sit down and take on very well.
We are very, very grateful to our expert. He shared a great deal of information. Each bit of it very important. Not to alarm you, but to empower you. Information is power. And even though he's gone into detail, in summary, really, what he said is simple. The idea is, if you have these chickens you're breeding, your care of them should be at least twice a day, require a visit. I would like to guess that efficiently done, when you're used to it, your time with them wouldn't be more than 15 to 20 minutes. In doing what? Change their water, like he said, with good clean water, clean the cage, removing the feces and so on, giving them the right feed, and really I'm making sure that the cage and the environment is intact and no predators are there, and also seeing the mood of your birds. All of these things with time and expertise is not more than 15-20 minutes a day. You do it in the morning, you do it in the evening as a routine, and then when all this is done well, the chances of their getting infected or being ill is significantly reduced. But however, if the birds do happen to fall sick, the good news is also that when you respond promptly and take them for veterinary care and describe the kind of symptoms, that the medications you will get will also immediately solve the problem. So that is it, really. So important. And he is also giving tips about prepare for festivities and times when your need in the family and friends and neighborhood is high for these things. And it doesn't take time. It's great news to know that actually breeding them is usually 4 to 6 weeks. You're ready. You have meat to eat with your family. And also think about cyclical. Think about the fact that you need to begin cyclically breeding the next batch so that you don't harvest, and then for the next 1 year you don't have anything. You can harvest and process. If you have adequate storage, you can freeze and so on, or even dry if need be. But so that you make it a regular supply for your family. It's been great. We've really learned a lot about poultry farming, and we thank our guests, and we strongly recommend it to all of you. Please always make sure also to inform yourself. There's never any end to learning. Find out people who have done it before, who have expert knowledge and so on. Get as much information as you can as you do it. Go online. There's a great deal of information online. There's also a great deal to learn there. And so we say to you, happy poultry breeding and farming. So important, well within what each family can do, particularly if you have enough space and the resources. But more important, I think most important, is the fact that it is vital for your family. You need the protein for your family. We cannot let these hard times defeat us. Thank you so much. We may need to do something similar if need be, depending on the further feedback from our guests. With regard to the other farming we had advocated for, the vegetable farming and the fish farming. I in particular ventured into vegetable farming in a significant way, farming in my backyard, and I found, for instance, that the heavy rains we had some weeks back actually killed many of my plants, and now they're thriving because they're having the sun which they didn't have. So there can be many hazards like that, but it is well worth it. For me, I'm eating my tomatoes and my herbs and enjoying them. So once again, thanks for having been with us. It's been an informative and very, very useful sharing and learning. We have to put food on our table. That is the right thing to do for ourselves and our families. Thank you, and see you next week.